go back.
All right. Hello, and welcome to this week Training Tuesday Live. We are Magnet Marketers. And before we dive in, just a quick little intro. Welcome to Magnet Marketers, our weekly live show where we break down the head, heart, and hand approach to building sustainable growth in your business. During each episode, we share actual client marketing best practice examples, strategies, and tactics that will help you generate real results. Our belief? A magnet always works better than being a bullhorn to attract, retain, and build your brand. Ready to dive into this week's Relationship Marketing Training Tuesday? Well, let's get started. Here's your host, Mike Gingrich and Jessica Phillips. All right. Hello and welcome to this week Training Tuesday Live. We're going to be diving into making fun of business and making business fun. How LOL can turn into lots of leads, hopefully. We have the perfect guest with us here to do this, RKA. If you've not met her before, that's okay. We're going to introduce her, and you are going to love her as much as I do. Maybe even more. I don't know. It's not possible because I really like her. But if we've not met before, my name is Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group in the Relationship Marketing System. My personal mission is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating. And my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingrich. How's it going, Mike? How are you
doing well.
He's the president of a web development software firm, Digital Hill Multimedia, published author 5 times over, triathlete, runner, biker, and leading business blogger at MikeGingrich.com. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, I'm looking forward to this, and I get the privilege of introducing Rachael. I think maybe has one of the best simple bio lines that I've seen, and so I'm just going to jump right in. So if you are seeing Rachael live here, but think of her as the one woman SNL of business comedy. How about that? That's all the introduction she needs. Rachael Kay Albers. Welcome, Rachael. How you doing?
You know me. That's all the introduction I'll ever need and will for the rest of my life. So thank you for your service to me. I appreciate
it. Oh my gosh. Rachael, I could not wait to have you on Magnet Marketers. I was hoping I got to meet you last year in person at Social Media Week Lima because I've just been a fangirl of your content. Yes, I've been a fangirl of your content. On Instagram is where I was first introduced to you. And actually, I think maybe Giphy before that, because I should add to your bio. I actually did add like a line to your bio, the queen of the business GIFs, like GIFs, whatever you want to call it. They're awesome. They're hilarious. And I just love the way that you were talking about business, real business stuff, but in a way that is craveable, as I like to say. Like it keeps you wanting to come back for more. And I was sharing it with others. And that's the key. Like the content that you want to share with others, it's helpful, it's engaging, it's fun. I just can't wait to learn more about you and to share this with others and how you help them.
Me either. I can't wait either. I'm on bated breath here. I can't even handle it, you know?
I love it. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you first and kind of like what you do, like a little bit about
how she got to this point, kind of thing. What's a little bit of the backstory?
What don't I do? Jessica, Mike, I mean, come on. I mean, no, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Y'all are magnets, you're marketers, you're pretty much everything to me. So I appreciate that. I will say today is sponsored by Modelo Especial. I felt bad because I was like clearly drinking a beer while you were introducing me. And I'm like, well, I should come out.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
Podcast. It's 4:00 somewhere and it's somewhere here. You know what I'm saying?
But so while Rachel's talking, tell us what you're drinking in the comments or what you want to be drinking, okay? We want to know.
Is it agua? Is it Sprite? Is it LaCroix? Is it Modelo Especial? Whatever it is.
Maybe water, maybe tequila. You don't know.
Tequila? You don't know? We don't know. I'm not judging.
Right.
Jessica and Mike, y'all are the best. Thank you for having me. I don't know. How did I get to this point where I'm making fun of myself on the internet for profit? I don't know how it gets to this point, but somewhere along the way you say, I played by the rules. I did the things that the marketers / my parents / the world told me I should do. And I did those things and it didn't work. So now I'm going to do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's the business that I'm in, Jessica and Mike. I am in the business of helping people to level up to their truth and monetize it. Monetizeyourtruth.com/don't do that. Actually, I got to go buy monetizeyourtruth.com.
There's good.
Just in case somebody goes there, you know?
And that's it. That's something we talk about a lot, is starting from the inside out, hence the whole magnet thing, right? Like, you're going to bring in who you already are. That's who you're going to attract. So might as well get comfortable with it, because you can't change it. It's just who you are, right? Like, monetize your truth. I freaking love it. But I feel like brands have struggled with this for some time, and hence why I crack up all the time at your Instagram, like real life scenarios that just people aren't talking about, like the harsh truth of business and marketing and all the things that we're trying to juggle in our world. And I think it's important now that we look at this, though, from a brand perspective, if we can get comfortable, because it sounds easy, right? Just show up who you are and do what you want to do, monetize your truth. It sounds good, but many people think, okay, there's a separation between personal and business. But all these studies are showing, now granted, to a point, which we'll dive into, I'm sure, but one, when it comes to social media, 71% of people are watching social media to laugh, right? And the psychology behind it is that people will feel a more instant connection when people are showing up in their truth and relatable, right? Like somebody that I can say, oh my God, like I said, I fell in love with you before I met you. I was like, I like her. I don't even know her, but I like her, because you resonated with things that I'm going through, that I struggle with, things that are my goals, right? And so you were relatable. And that's the key, when people can find and show up in a way that is matching kind of what they're going through, right? Like, I don't know, how have you found experimenting, I should say, with this content that is now your truth, and showing up and getting creative with it? How have you found the response to be?
Negative. No, it's been both, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a polarizing experience, right?
Okay.
And so I like to say, show up as yourself as soon as you can, because the people who are committed to like engaging with you as a false version of yourself are going to respond negatively, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when the people you thought loved you reject you, like whether it's your mom or your best friend or that girl from high school that you thought was your supporter, but now she's not. So show up as you now, so that you can start adjusting to the world's reaction to you, right? So that's number one. Number two, I would say, like, how has been the reaction to me showing up more and more in my truth? I wish I could say it's been awesome, but it's been really not good. It's been painful. I've lost a lot of people, and it has only proven to me, like, why didn't I show up in my truth 5 years ago? Right? Like, because at the very least, I wouldn't have the pain of losing such a big segment, not just of my audience. Let's not just think about, like, because the reality is, like, my money making abilities haven't drastically suffered. But it's been more about my colleagues, my supporters, my stakeholders, the folks that I thought were helping me, like, boost me to the next level. Those people have fallen off. My colleagues, my peers. I'm actually not even stressed about my clients. I'm stressed about my peers,
Yeah. Which, and Mike, I know you probably are dying to ask a question, but I'm like, and
I can feel Mike's energy. I can feel it,
I just have to say, because I've followed you online for a little over a year, but probably almost 2 years, right? So like when you first started coming out with some of the content, and today when I shared that you were going to be on the show, the reaction that I received from my connections responding back to me, which I'll have to screenshot and share with you, that, oh my gosh, I love her content. and oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like, that's not a typical reaction from a guest that we have on that maybe is saying the things like that people do resonate with and they respond to. But I feel like it makes this connection stronger where they're advocating for you. So where there may not be as many, it is much more mighty though with the people that you do have, like, that are advocating for you. And I love that you're sharing that, because that's something that we share with clients all the time. Like, as soon as we, define their what makes them unique, right? Because we always say it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Like, as soon as you show up and you define it, you're probably going to lose some people. And that's okay, because you want to get rid of the vanilla, right? Like, you want to get rid of the people that are just kind of fair weather and they're not going to be loyal. Like, the whole goal is to build that repeat referral business. So you have to get down to like, who is your tight-knit community? And sometimes you have to lose a few before you can really define and get that loyalty in those people that are going to stick with you. So from being on the outside watching you, I can say that I've seen that become true with just the engagement that I've seen just on your Instagram. And I don't know what else is happening, but in my DMs from sharing that you'll be on the show, like people advocating for you. So I'd love to like unpack this for brands that maybe they aren't as comfortable being crazy out there and doing these skits that you do, which I wish I would have loaded one on here, but we will definitely tag your Instagram so people can check it out on here so people can watch what you're talking about. But being comfortable being human and having fun in the process, right? Like making fun of business or whatever that looks like, adding some of that humor in there. Because I think it's harder for people to stand out. So for you, like, why do you think like that humor can it work in any audience? Like, can it work for any brand?
Oh my God, Jessica. I'm feeling so many things. So you inspire me to first address this concept of, if I say something polarizing, will I get punished? Okay. And I'm concerned that I've maybe planted the seed that yes, you will. Well, yeah, you will. Only if you consider punishment being rejected by people who are full of shit. Okay. So if you want to be embraced and paid by people who are full of shit, go ahead and continue to lie to yourself and others about who you are. Okay. So that I support. I support that 100% if you're not ready for reality. But beyond that, I will say, it's like so many levels, right? And I'm saying this in a facetious comedic way, but I do want to truly honor that the fear that we all have around showing up as ourselves is a real fear, right? And I'm actually here to prove that that fear is real. Why? Because I'm showing up on the edges and I'm getting specific, I would like to say maybe what some would interpret negative responses, because I am showing up in such a polarizing way. And in polarizing, I mean, I'm showing up as someone that owns my own worth, despite whatever someone else wants to define that by, right? Like, because my audience could say, well, this person's bullshit because I bought her bullshit and she didn't fucking like learn. I'm sorry, pardon me. I'm sorry. Woo! I said the word you're not supposed to say on the air, but I'll never do it again. But
The only F word we don't say here is funnel. So you're all good.
okay. Well, I said that too multiple times. So, but like I showed up and I showed up in this joyful way around marketing, which in itself is disruptive, because it's like, wait a minute. We all agree that marketing is horrible and we're only doing it because we hate our lives, right? And we have to and I'm like, but wait, it could be an art experiment. So I've experienced, Jessica and Mike, like how much just showing up a slightly different way than the status quo earns like legit animosity. And I'm like, oh. So if me, RKA, like queen of the outsiders, is experiencing this level of resistance, well, that's bullshit. So I got to keep going because my clients can't handle this. Like I've built brands for 12 years and I know that my clients can't handle this level of anger and pain and judgment and shame that I'm getting for simply daring to suggest that there's a way to build a business outside of, I don't know, thought leader culture, influencer culture, hardcore hustle culture, hardcore funnel culture, right?
Motivational Mondays. Yeah. Like,
you get it. I'm okay. I'm gonna shut up. Shut up.
No, but it's, honestly, you're onto something. And just to kind of articulate it in another way, because for someone that hasn't experienced what you've shared as content, there is a struggle and a risk for defining who you are, but you are who you are. So like one of the clients we actually did a case study on, and I presented this as one of my presentations last year at Social Media Marketing World, was on a client that, you know, they were selling water bottles, right? And like, what makes you stand out from another company that's selling water bottles? There's millions of them out there, right? Like sea of sameness, you know, samesies. And so instead we had to get down to like, what was their personality and how could they show up authentically? And her personality, her being the owner and like at the brand's core, was like what they wanted to show up as is snarky and fun. And they were trying to be relatable to this woman that, you know, is a mom that her kids are just now back in school and she's trying to figure her stuff out. She is trying to sneak, you know, maybe vodka in her water bottle, right? Like she's trying to, you know, get back into hanging out with friends. And so the content had to articulate that tone in which was going to meet their ideal audience in the same level that they were trying to show up as. So there was that connection in that like belonging sense where they're sharing it out. In that first year though, they lost 1,200 fans and it was hard. There were some people that were like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that you're sharing this on there and that and there. And it was a challenging waiting period. Like you were saying, like, can people handle that shift? But I'll tell you, their end of year ROI was 331% because they actually then found that community that loved them, right? And now they're still sticking with them and their engagement went up. So, but they have less fans. So it's not about that. You do have to continue with waiting through it, you know?
I love you for using this example and also for saying their numbers might not, like, okay, from the outside, you might have been looking at their follower count and it might not have changed or maybe it went down.
Right. But
the reality of the numbers were they made more money. They were more memorable. They were more, right? Oh my God. I'm like losing my mind over here over the amount of entrepreneurs that quit, that give up because in the first 3 months, they don't become whatever they see online. And it's like, honey, no, please, God, may I be an example. And I'm not even an example myself. I'm more of the truth teller saying I have built hundreds of brands. And it's the exception that lands in the first year, not the rule. It's the exception that makes $1 million out the gate, not the rule. Whether you're the exception or the rule, listen, the rule isn't made by people who are more worthy than you either, because that's also the fear. Why am I not the person that made it on the first try? Why am I not I don't even know an example of someone who like came out the gate and like started a business and didn't have any resistance and then just became a millionaire. But that's what we're all trying to chase. We're all thinking that there's something wrong with us because the first iteration of our businesses that came out didn't make millions of dollars or 6 figures or 5 figures even, right? And it's like, no, honey, no, actually, no. And that's like the most painful thing to try to express to people because like the whole marketing industrial complex wants to tell you that if you don't make $1 million on your first try, that's because you're inherently not worth paying money to. Right? Mike,
they try to get you. Yes.
Mike energy in my life.
they try to get you to fit in this box, right? And generally marketing has been inside this box. Do these steps kind of thing. And you're saying, yeah, I mean, some people might find some mediocre success there, but what are they going to feel? And how can they sustain that? And you're jumping outside of that and saying, you know, go with your your root, your core, who you are, and then attract that. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear that, because Jessica and I talked about that example that she gave with the water bottles. I mean, it's, but it kind of comes back to, there's an audience for who you are, right? But it takes the courage to step out into that. How do you help businesses step with courage?
Ooh, that's a good one, Mike. This is why you pay that. This is why they pay you the big bucks, Mike. That's the hard one, right? Like, how do you?
Yeah.
And for me, I'll give you a little tiny taste of what that equation has meant for me. I personally think part of the equation is urgency. So what I mean, like for me, like if I hadn't had a need to push my brand to the next level,
Okay.
to push my brand beyond the bullshit, beyond the lies, beyond the grandstanding, the performative, whatever of it all, like I had an urgency to do that. And I'll tell you what, like I've got online networking groups, I have local networking groups, but one of the things I've noticed that will hold people back is when they have the worst thing you can have is money. Like the worst thing your business could ever get would be money. And I mean, I say that and I don't say it, but like, here's what I mean by that. The most brilliant, and I mean, okay, I'm not talking about the most profitable, but the most game-changing, paradigm-shifting businesses that I know have come from a place of deep urgency. Not just like, I want to make a change, but I need to.
Yeah.
Because if I don't make this change, my life is, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm interested in. There's thousands of entrepreneurs that can serve the, but like maybe like I'll take a next step. Now, good for you. I'm totally supportive of it, but that's not my role, right? I'm here to serve the urgent people in the urgent place, you know?
I honestly heard this saying today, which I'd never heard before. Let me know in the comments if you guys have heard this before. And it was called zombie businesses. And it was about businesses that, like what you're saying, because they have money and they're comfortable, that they're just doing nothing. They're not sure what to do. So they do nothing, right? So they're not in that place, as you're saying, of urgency to where they're like, what do I need to do? And where I feel like this sense of urgency, if you're kind of paying attention to what's going on, I really feel like there's about a 2-year window, maybe if we're lucky 3, but 2020 really accelerated it to where you can level playing field, become known if you want to be. If you do show up and desire to build that repeat referral business, that you can keep your audience kind of coming to you and get your message out there without this constant like pay to play model. But there is a sense of urgency as people are now getting tired of, okay, push everything everywhere. I want to go back into my smaller, more tight-knit niche community. So there is a sense of urgency if you want to stand out and not just be vanilla, if you want to be remembered, if you want to be shared on, if you want people to be messaging into, you know, whoever's sharing you the inbox and say, oh my gosh, I really like this, then it has to be something that's going to resonate, be real, and not just the same old crap. Right. So I do think that you are spot on with that sense of urgency. So when it comes to like talking with brands and kind of getting down to that, it's like really just going back to the basics. I feel like where you have to just say like, why did we start here in the first place? Like, what are we really about? Like, who do we want to work with? Like, who's going to be fun to work with us? Like, who do I want to be in my community? And then like almost have this level now where things are shifting and have just this moment of clarity of saying, what do we want to do? You know, do we want to be a zombie business? Okay, like you said, or do we have this desire to grow? And what does that look like if we said this has a 2-year expiration date on it, right? Like, what do we need to show up and do today that's going to make sure that we're not, you know, way behind our closed doors in 2 years?
Jessica, first of all, your eye makeup showed up for the day. I want you to know that your makeup is supporting this. And I don't want to invalidate you by saying that, but I want you to know your eye makeup is fully lifting your point into the next level of understanding. And I'm appreciating that about you. I agree 100%. I can't even stop agreeing. It would hurt me physically to stop agreeing with you. So you're going to have to interrupt me in order to move us forward in this conversation. Go ahead, take me forward, please. I'm begging you.
Well, okay, I love what you're sharing, and I really hope people are really paying attention to, the wisdom that you're talking about. Like sometimes those moments of, struggle are what the creative process comes from. Like if you think of all the great brands and the people that we love watching, and if you think of like the most memorable, if you just run through it, like who's the most memorable, nonprofit, who's the most memorable, whatever, they all have a story. They all show up in a way that has personality. And looking at the studies, like human behavior, we love to laugh. That's why people are going on to watch video. We know video is big right now on social. And I love that you shared being lazy is the best marketing strategy that you have to come up with. So I want to hear more on that, because I feel like we got here's the why we need to show up with some personality. Maybe if it's not even like all, crazy out there humor, although that's fun. Like what else is at its core? Like why is being lazy the best strategy?
Jessica, you're asking the real tough questions here. This is why I love you and Mike. Okay. So, in the United States of America specifically, there is a real culture around the waspy, white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant work ethic way of approaching the world, right? Which is that working hard is inherently valuable in and of itself, regardless of the value it provides, right? Like that's the story we're told. As long as you work your ass off and hate your life, you're good, right? And so I'm like, cool, that's great, that's awesome, but why though? So I'm asking why, right?
Yep.
For me, the laziness things comes down to since when this concept we've been sold that productivity is directly related to our moral value, okay? And so I'm pushing back on that. And so even just playing with the concept of lazy business as a comedic trope is my way of pushing back on the messaging out there for women like me, women specifically. It's women who are fed the idea that it's our job to be eternally productive, because men are actually allowed a lot more latitude in our society. First of all, women receive the sperm and then make the babies in our bodies while the men just go off and build their careers. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? So even in that fact, we've got a disparity here. So I'm all about the messaging around women's value not being tied to whether we push out a kid or not being tied even to productivity in its traditional sense. Because you aptly pointed out at the beginning of this, I can't actually tie a specific monetary value to marketing, right? That's the pain of it all. Now, some of us will do that. They'll say, because of my email sequence, you made 10 times more money than you did before.
Yeah.
Sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure it was just the email sequence? It wasn't the combination. It wasn't the marketing campaign that we've been positioning in our audience's mind for the last 18 months. Are you sure? No, you're not. No, you're not. So that's where I'm coming from. And it's a dangerous place to inhabit because I am owning the concept that there is no one size fits all.
Yeah.
There is no easy answer. If you want to be the kind of business that embraces the idea that Black Lives Matter, for example, and that we should stop Asian hate, and that anti-Semitism in business is a problem, and go, keep going.
Yeah.
There isn't a course you can take or a checklist you can check off to make your business ethical.
Yeah.
To make your business anti-racist, to make, you know what I'm saying? We're all chasing I take this course and I am blank. I do this thing and I am done.
I'm busy, therefore I'm productive. That's the mindset.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. I've seen this time and time again with many brands that are just oh my gosh, there's a new thing out. We need to jump on it because that means we're connected, right? Like, and what I hear you saying and what I've seen even in like the past 2 years, I've tried to like cut things back, like say no more often, because if you're doing all the things and you're just showing up because you think that it checks this box for you, or it gives you some level of validation to not feel guilty inside because you're showing up, therefore that's your worth, instead of saying, you know what, no, I'm going to skip this and spend time with my kids, or, you know, even in your offices, no, I'm going to skip this platform because we want to drill in and add more value on this other. That's what it's about. So it's not necessarily like lazy, although I love that play on it. It's intentional. It's knowing that we are okay and we don't need to have some kind of FOMO or hustle culture, because that's a lie. That just ends up burning more people out, ends up causing more, you know, mental angst and all the problems that come with that. It's really just being deliberate on, here's where I want to go with my brand. Here's how, now that I have the personality down and I'm going to show up being real, now I just need to be comfortable showing up on the platforms and as myself, and knowing that we are good. We are good. We can invest where it makes sense and not have this ridiculous checklist for ourselves in order to say that we've made it, right?
And I want to add to that, Jessica, like you said this phrase a couple seconds ago. You're like, it's not lazy. You're like, it's not lazy. It's actually blank, because you wanted to distance the conversation we're having from the word lazy. Yeah. And I would say, just to be radical and an asshole about it, let's get back to that word of lazy. Let's go back towards that word. Because like I've been told that anything that we do to curb unnecessary labor, what, makes us lazy? And lazy is bad? So I don't want to replicate the same bullshit now for the rest of my life. I don't want to keep lying to my audience. I don't want to keep taking the labor to manipulate my audience into accepting the truth. Does that make me lazy? Or does that actually make me a very smart business owner? In fact, it's actually lazy for me not to accept that I'm being lazy, right? Because if I don't accept that I'm being lazy, I'm going to keep being lazy, right? Now, and lazy forever. Am I right? Also, let's be lazy. Let's just also be fuck lazy and yes, lazy. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop. I won't say it again. But
no, that
you know what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah, there's a level of guilt that comes with it. So like on the other extreme of not showing up, it's showing up for the sake when you're not feeling it, just because you feel like you're supposed to. So I can definitely see both sides of that. And you're right. Like I was like that word lazy, like that's something in my head. I think like you hit on it, women, and Mike, I would love to hear from your perspective if, you know, men go through it, but for women, it's like, okay, if you are doing a motherhood and a career, and this can come, you can fill in the blank, whatever you're, you know, if you're a marketer for a company and you're supposed to show up in a way, right? Like you feel like, I have to keep doing those things. And the word lazy kind of makes you feel like intrinsically that's something that's, you know, going against who you know yourself to be as a person. And you kind of, so I did distance myself from it. You're absolutely right. I'll own that and accept it. But yeah, here's to, you know, being a little bit more intentionally lazy with the things that don't matter.
And I'm poking at this word, Jessica. Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on blast here. Like I'm poking at the word lazy because basically lazy is a word that we give people who don't freely sacrifice their time and their labor for the empire with no fair compensation. Mm-hmm. That's really, when we call someone lazy, we're saying you don't want to give your labor to the empire for free. You expect compensation for your energy. How dare you, you lazy hoe? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where the lazy, I mean, I wouldn't be speaking this way if laziness hadn't been branded to us as a way of buying our free labor out of shame. I'm a hard worker, but I will be lazy when it comes to the empire. I will not build the empire for free. I will not build my own sense of inadequacy for free. You're going to pay me to feel like shit. Okay. If I'm going to hate myself, it's going to be because you paid me to do it. Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hate myself for free and then call it my business, And that's what we do, is we think that if I don't give my labor freely to the empire and call it content, I'm lazy. No.
Yeah.
No, I'd actually like to reframe this conversation completely, because I'm happy to give my labor to the empire, but let's call it what it is. Let's not, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that, concept of just the empire as well. I think that's beautiful. I think that's, just because, and we have to, and the concept of, it has branded certain things. It has branded, it is bad if you're lazy, and lazy has negative connotations, and you should be hustle this and do this, and you should show up on social about how you were up late and doing this and ranted this and all, but yet and that comes out of that place of need to validate. So you're trying to there's a desire or a message that says you want validation within the empire, but you're saying, do you really? And that's the beautiful thing. Can we break out of that mindset and strike back at the empire? That's a different take on it, huh?
Like you
reading books to your daughter. Mike, I'll be real. I played by the empire's rules. I think a lot of us have played by the empire's rules.
Oh.
The truth is, you play by the empire's rule, and only a minority of people get rewarded within it.
That's right.
And that's the painful part, is like, okay, you've got like the conservatives, like let's go full liberal, like full political. And I'm sorry to go there, but you have people from a conservative bent, and that's my perspective. That's my branding perspective, trying to position this as like, we, the progressives, don't want the best for all of us. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the branding that we're putting on this. And in reality, I think that the thing that upsets me is that like all of us are just trying to take care of ourselves, to take care of our families. And in reality, it's this false narrative that we all have to play this role in order to be successful. That's hurting us, not actually trying to serve our own needs. Like that's the thing that pisses me off, is that like people are being sold the lie that they have to pretend that there's something else in order to provide for their families.
Yeah.
That's the lie.
Separate brands. Like, and that's why I love, like, I love the nostalgia that you share in your copy. I love the humor, but I also love the other part of that, where I've seen you just going live, reading a book to your daughter, dealing with the real, like the real in the moment stuff, like where, your kid may walk off and be like, I'm over it. And you like go with it, right? Like, and it did not feel awkward. It didn't feel pushed. It didn't feel staged. And that's where I think then people, like, I felt like, okay, I get a sense of who she is without meeting her because of how you show up. And I feel like this is what we need as individuals. One, whether you have a personal brand, you work for a large brand, whatever, but like empowering your people to feel like that's okay. It's okay to just be you, like human, like chill with it, right? Like, and
it's not just okay, Jessica, you have to do it. And in fact, I was just talking to someone this morning who was like, how do you deal with people who are like, I don't want to be me, like I'm afraid? And I'm like, well, are you afraid to make money?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're really afraid of here.
Yeah. And I know
I hate to be real with you, but like,
awesome.
When you play the safe role, you're safe and you're forgettable. You are safe from any like no one is going to come for you, boo. And I mean that. They're not going to come for you to give you money, and they're not going to come from you to tell you you're full of shit. They're not going to come for you at all. Yep. Okay. So you should be thinking about the fear of, what does my business look like if I don't take a stand? If I do take a stand, they could leave me. If I don't take a stand, they could leave me. They're going to leave you. I'm going to tell you this right now. You don't take a stand, they're out. Yeah. They're forgot about you already before they even figured out if you had a stand or not.
Yeah. Amen. Like, and I think many of us are already seeing that. We're making those decisions consciously already when it comes to other brands. And so is the consumer that's happening for our brands. Like you just have to put your, your message out there and just show up, because people are going to know, they're going to get it. And if they don't feel like they get a sense of you, like you said, you're forgettable. So I love this. And I feel like I could talk to you forever. I know we're already like at time, but I do want to ask you one last question before we have to wrap up, and since we're already over, but really about like, so how can brands like, is there any way that they can get started with this? Or like, as you put it, like, love marketing, even if you hate it, like how can they kind of start this process? I know it's hard to know, like what you said, if I'm afraid to show up as me, but if they're saying, you know what, I do want to show up as me, but I've been so far left right now with not having a personality in my brand, like, where do I get started? Help me, what would you say to that?
I would say that most people hate marketing because they've been sold the idea that they have to present a fake version of their business, their brand, their values to the world, right? And oh my God, thank God we're at a point in marketing history where the collective is exhausted by that. Now, if you were to ask me 3 years ago, I would have told you, well, the collective is still very interested in pretending that we're all great. 3 years ago, we were all very interested in pretending that we were all rich and beautiful and living a wonderful life, right? Instagram success in 2018 was about how fashionable you were, how cool your lifestyle was, how interesting the people you were around were. What's the content? Like, do I have an infinity pool behind me? Let's talk about it. That was influencing, I want to say, that's the like from 3 years ago, right? And influencing in 2021, thank fucking God, pardon me, I'm sorry, is necessarily acknowledging all of our reality. And that's the best, worst thing that could happen from COVID. It's the best, worst thing that is that it accelerated this truth, right? None of us can lie to, we're all like, anybody who's trying to be like, hey, look at my life. Thank God, the one good thing that you could say came from COVID, and there's some good things. There's something good, but like the one good thing is that no longer is the false idea of living a perfect life exalted as the way, right? In fact, that's tone deaf. You're not allowed, like, don't you dare come out and act like your life is perfect. These days, it's all about being real. So the best thing that could come out of COVID was us being honest with each other about what the shape. Because thankfully, even celebrities showed us this last year, they don't have the perfect kitchen. They don't have the perfect life. They don't have the most beautiful home. We're all together. They're wearing sweatpants too. Renee Zellweger doesn't look that great on the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that shit. So that's the gift that COVID gave us, was that we can't hide behind the lies anymore. Thank God. But now let's get to the next place, which is like, I actually don't know. I think well,
it's don't go back. That's one of
yes,
them.
Mike.
There's don't go back. That's part of the, that pressure will build as, oh, it's now okay. We need to go back and don't. What did you pull out of that? What did you learn? What's different that you need to stay with and let go of?
Thank you, because I think that so many people are like, how can we get back to normal? What? Normal? What was normal? Was it good?
Right,
Are we agreeing
was that
normal
good?
was good? Because I don't think it was. Right? It wasn't.
Absolutely.
So let's not go back, please. God, thank you, Mike. You got it. That's it. Don't go back.
Yes.
Period.
But I think it's an important conversation to have, like, and while we don't have all the answers on how you do show up with humor, because there's, you have to figure that out as your brand, but it honestly just takes this time of saying, okay, if all the noise is pushed out, right, of the way, and we just are sitting down with ourselves and just be like, what does that look like? What feels right? Like you said, like, who do I want to work with? Who am I? And how do I want to just feel comfortable where it doesn't feel like work? Right? It just feels like I'm showing up. And I think that's such an important question, because it ties back to every single thing that you're going to do as an organization or as a solopreneur, that you need to work with people that get you. And that's who's going to stick with you. That's who's going to be loyal. And it does all start with really your brand personality first, in order to be memorable, to be noticeable, to even compete. So I love this. I will really, really, really want people to check out your Instagram and just kind of get a taste of what this can look like. So what's the best way for people besides your Instagram, people to find out more about you?
I mean, you know what? The truth is, I am found wherever internets are sold. Okay. So no, I mean, Rachael Kay Albers, go find me go find me wherever you prefer to interact with the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instagram is my that's where the magic happens. All right. Here's what I would say. Because anyone who's interacting with my brand, any other platform is consuming it versus interacting with it and influencing it. If you think that I'm wrong, if you would like to influence my perspective, if you would like to maybe argue with me or possibly change my mind, the place to do that is on Instagram. That's where I'm taking feedback. I'm talking, I'm interacting. It's all happening because I believe I'm a big proponent of popular education, which is the idea that the student is the teacher and the teacher is the student. Like, we're all learning together. So I strongly believe that the best learning comes in environments where the teacher doesn't have a chip on their shoulder and doesn't think they know everything, right? So that's, if you want to like make shit happen, let's hang out on Instagram. That's where it happens.
Got it. We got that dropped in the comments. Hey, one final statement there. She's going to like this one, Jessica. Rachael, interact with this statement. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
You got to watch this funny one on where she has like it was all about the spiritual leaders and stuff. Like that one, I was dead. I was crying. I was literally crying. You guys have to check that one out and let us know what you think. Come back to the comments, let us know, or just let us know one video that you watched. I was so into this. I apologize to the audience. I forgot to even mention, if you do want the show notes or just like the replay, you can type recap in the comments here. But I was just into this conversation and completely lost to that, and way over time. So thank you.
Are you gonna let me answer? Because I would just say the word tribe, I would self-reflect on that. I would say
I love it personally, but I did resonate with what you said.
I don't disagree with the feeling behind your vibe attracts your tribe, but I would say, is tribe the word you need to use?
I personally like it, but I do also have like some of that heritage in me. So whatever. But
I get what you're saying. By the way, is not. It's actually white too. Like white people say tribe, and we have historically. So tribe isn't inherently bad, but I don't personally love it. So that's all I'm going to say.
And that's what's it, right? Like that's the perfect thing right here. Where her camera fell. That's okay. She is spontaneously combusted, but that's okay. But that's what she led to what she was saying too, on honestly showing up as you, right? Like none of us all had to agree, that's what's perfect about it too. I freaking love RKA stuff on Instagram, and you should definitely check it out. I think shows a perspective of how brands can be super creative, human, use that energy to really get their message across in a way that doesn't feel stuffy and forced, right? Like I really have enjoyed it personally. And while there is like boundaries, of course, like not everybody's gonna be super that humorous, but it does have to be fun and engaging and edutainment, kind of factor. And I love what she was saying about just, being comfortable with that. So definitely we'll have a recap and links to Rachael's information in our blog recap at roundmarketinggroup.com. Thank you, Rachael, for joining with us. If your camera's back on now, super appreciate you, and definitely will be following up. And thank you, Mike.
Oh, this was good. This might have been the first time where my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. So this was good. This was good.
Yeah, this is definitely good. She's great. All right, everyone. I hope you had an amazing Tuesday as well. We'll see you back here next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week.